The domineering ex-husband suffered amnesia from a car accident, forgetting that I was his wife from a contractual marriage, and gave me 100 million in alimony to make me leave. I quickly signed the divorce agreement, concealed my pregnant belly, and departed gracefully. With money, a child, and restored single status, where else could one find such good fortune? I immediately returned to my hometown and opened a farmstay, living a prosperous and carefree life. Until that day, a survey team wanted to book my entire farmstay, and the leading man, handsome and indifferent, turned out to be my ex-husband, Adrian. I was terrified, fearing he would regain his memory and fight me for the child. However, he merely gave me a cold glance, then pointed at my prominently protruding belly and frowned, saying, "Proprietress, this excess fat of yours somewhat affects my appetite. But your cooking is acceptable. How about this? I need a private chef, with a monthly salary of 1 million, and I'll ensure you lose all this weight." I tightened my grip on the spoon. I nearly couldn't resist scooping it onto his unparalleled handsome face. I took a deep breath and forced a professional fake smile. "Sorry, sir, our farmstay is a small operation, the proprietress also serves as the head chef, and we do not hire out. Moreover," I paused, my smile deepening, "this isn't excess fat, it's happiness fat." A woman beside Adrian, dressed in a professional skirt suit with exquisite makeup, sneered. "Serena, right? You probably don't know who is standing before you." She lifted her chin, full of superiority. "This is the president of Xingyuan Group, Adrian. Adrian's willingness to hire you as a private chef is a blessing accumulated over several lifetimes. Don't be ungrateful." I glanced at her. "Oh, Xingyuan Group. The source of my 100 million alimony," I said with a beaming smile. "So it's Adrian, I've long admired your name. However, I have no great ambitions. I just like guarding my small plot of land, planting vegetables, raising chickens, and living my simple life. I appreciate Adrian's kindness, this meal is on me, everyone enjoy." After saying that, I turned to leave. This great Buddha, I can't afford to provoke, but can't I afford to hide? "Stop." Adrian's clear and cold voice came from behind, carrying an unquestionable command. My steps halted, without turning back. 5 million a month. He indifferently raised the price, as if discussing the cost of a cabbage. "Adrian, this isn't about the money," I explained patiently. "Then it's that the money isn't sufficient." He stood up and walked towards me step by step. A powerful sense of oppression instantly enveloped me. Even though he had forgotten me, that ingrained dominance and assertiveness remained undiminished. "Serena, I'll say it one last time." His voice was right by my ear, low and dangerous. "Either you become my private chef, or I buy your farmstay and make you my chef for life. Choose one." I turned abruptly, crashing into his bottomless eyes. There was not a trace of jest in them. He was serious. This madman. I gritted my teeth, cursing Adrian 10,000 times in my heart. Buy my farmstay? This is the paradise I built with the 100 million he gave me, plus all my hard work. It's the future home for me and the baby. On what basis does he say buy and just buy? The woman beside him named Linda started fanning the flames again. "Adrian, why waste words on this rustic village woman, she just wants more money. You've offered her such a high price, and she's still not satisfied, truly greedy." Adrian ignored her, his gaze still locked on me, like a leopard fixating on its prey. I knew clearly that clashing head-on with him would yield no good results. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. "Adrian, forcing someone against their will isn't the act of a gentleman, is it?" The corner of his mouth curved into a mocking arc. "I'm not a gentleman, I'm a businessman. Businessmen pursue profit, and right now, I'm very interested in your culinary skills." I picked up a bowl of freshly stewed chicken soup from the table, ladled a small bowl, and handed it to him. "Adrian, try this again, it's stewed with free-range chickens we raise on the back mountain, plus freshly picked wild mushrooms, simmered for a full 3 hours." He lowered his eyes to look. The golden chicken soup had a few oil droplets floating on top, with a rich aroma. He picked up the spoon and took a shallow taste. In that instant, I clearly saw his pupils contract slightly, a fleeting trace of confusion flashing across his face. It was that feeling again. That familiarity etched deep into his taste buds made him irritable, yet inexplicably wanting to get closer. He set down the spoon, and the balance in his heart completely tipped. "It seems you still haven't decided." He took out his phone and dialed a number. "Legal department? Bring the team to Qingxi Village, I want to acquire a farmstay." "I agree." I almost roared it out. Adrian faintly said to the other end of the phone, "Wait for notification," then hung up. He looked at me leisurely, seeming very satisfied with my reaction. "That's right." I clenched my fists, squeezing out words through gritted teeth. "I can be your private chef, but I have conditions. First, only for 1 week. Once your survey ends, our employment relationship ends. Second, I only cook at my farmstay. If you want to eat, come over yourselves. Third, besides cooking, I don't handle anything else, especially." I glanced at my belly, my personal health issues. Linda screamed from the side, "Who do you think you are? Daring to negotiate terms with Adrian?" Adrian raised his hand, signaling her to shut up. He appraised me with interest, as if evaluating an intriguing commodity. "Agreed." He actually consented. The next second after I sighed in relief, I heard him add, "However, I have a condition too. During the period you work for me, all your time belongs to me." "All my time belongs to you?" I frowned. "Adrian, I'm just a chef, not selling myself." He chuckled lightly, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "Don't misunderstand, I'm not interested in your body." He scanned me up and down, his gaze lingering on my belly for 2 seconds, unabashedly showing disdain. "I just need to ensure that when I need a meal, my chef is available on call." What he said sounded reasonable, yet I always felt something was off. But at the moment, I had no better choice. "Fine, I agree." A temporary employment contract was soon delivered to me. Adrian's efficiency was terrifyingly high. I glanced over it, and when I saw the clause that Party B must cooperate with Party A's health management, including but not limited to diet and routine suggestions, my eyelid twitched. This guy had really written helping me lose weight into the contract. I signed it, sneering inwardly, contracts are rigid, but people are flexible. How to proceed then would still be up to me. Just like that, my farmstay became the temporary base for Xingyuan Group's survey team. And I became Adrian's exclusive chef. On the first day, he gave me a show of authority. At 7 in the morning, my door was knocked on. It was his assistant. "Miss Serena, Adrian wants freshly ground Blue Mountain coffee, 7 parts sugar, temperature exactly 85 degrees. The next day, at noon 12 o'clock. "Miss Serena, Adrian wants Wellington steak, medium rare, side dishes without carrots. At 7 in the evening. "Miss Serena, Adrian wants fish fillet congee, fish deboned, congee cooked until grains bloom but not mushy." I spun like a top in the kitchen all day. After serving Adrian in the evening, Linda carried a bowl of bird's nest, swaying her hips as she entered Adrian's room. I was exhausted, my waist nearly breaking, leaning on the wall back to my room, with only one thought: once the week ends, I'll immediately pack up and leave, getting as far from this ancestor as possible. The next day, Linda began to intensify her fault-finding. I was stewing soup for Adrian when she clacked in on high heels, pretending to accidentally bump into me. An entire pack of salt all poured into the soup. "Oops, sorry Serena, hand slipped," she said without any apology. I looked at her expressionlessly, silently poured out that pot of soup, then lifted another identical pot from the adjacent stove. Linda's expression froze instantly. "You." "I habitually make 2 portions, just in case," I said indifferently. Carrying the soup, I walked past her, lightly leaving a sentence: "Next time you want to tamper, remember to observe carefully first." Her face turned green with anger. In the dining room, Adrian looked at the soup I served, picked up the spoon and tasted it. The familiar flavor made him frown again. He set down the spoon, raised his head, his obsidian-like eyes staring intently at me. Have we met before? My heart skipped a beat. I forcibly suppressed the turmoil in my heart and pulled out a perfect smile. Adrian, you really know how to joke. This pickup line is old-fashioned, but considering how handsome you are, I'll let it go. But seriously, how could a favored son of heaven like you know a village girl like me? You must be mistaken. He scrutinized me, seeming to discern the truth in my words. After a while, he withdrew his gaze and picked up the spoon again. Perhaps. Adrian's health management plan officially started on my third day of work. His assistant brought an A4 sheet, densely written with my weight loss diet and exercise plan. Breakfast, 1 cup of skim milk, 2 slices of whole wheat bread. Lunch, 100 grams of boiled chicken breast, 1 plate of boiled broccoli. Dinner, 1 cucumber, 1 tomato. Exercise, jog 5 kilometers daily, swim 1 hour. Looking at this paper, I laughed in anger. Is this for humans? This is for feeding rabbits, right? And jogging and swimming? Does he want me to just roll away with the ball in my belly? I casually threw the paper into the trash bin. My child needs nutrition, to hell with his health management. I ate and drank as I should, 3 meals a day plus 2 snacks, stewing pig trotters, simmering chicken soup, nourishing myself to be fair and plump, with a rosy complexion. Adrian's face grew darker day by day. Finally, on the evening of the 5th day, he blocked my path. Why aren't you following the plan? He questioned me condescendingly, his tone full of chill. What plan? I feigned ignorance knowingly. Serena. He called me by full name, clearly angry. Do you want to be fat for life? Look at yourself now, absolutely no aesthetic appeal. His words were like a knife, stabbing harshly into my heart. I admit, after pregnancy, I did gain a lot of weight, my figure distorted. But on what basis does he say this to me? What qualification does he have? A surge of grievance and anger rushed to my head, my eyes instantly reddening. Just as I was about to lose control of my emotions, a voice exploded. Adrian! You blind bastard! Who are you calling fat? My best friend Yara, a spirited veterinarian, appeared behind me at some point. She had just returned from delivering piglets in the sty, still in work clothes, even carrying a mud-stained toolbox. She rushed up, protecting me behind her like a mother hen, glaring angrily at Adrian. Which eye of yours sees her as fat? This is called plump. This is pregnancy glow. What do you know? She's pregnant. Pregnant, do you know? Yara's voice echoed throughout the courtyard. The air seemed to freeze in that moment. The anger on Adrian's face instantly stiffened, replaced by complete shock and incredulity. His gaze slowly, inch by inch, shifted from Yara's face to mine, finally fixing on my prominently protruding abdomen. That excess fat he had mocked countless times. So, it's a child? His mind went blank, logic system instantly collapsing. Looking at his distraught appearance, the grievances and fears accumulated over days in my heart suddenly disappeared in this moment. What am I afraid of? Why should I fear him? I straightened my back, stepped out from behind Yara, meeting his shocked gaze. In this moment, I fully awakened. I can't be passive anymore, I need to seize back control of my life. Looking at him, I said word by word, clearly, that's right, I'm pregnant. But Adrian, rest assured. The child isn't yours. Adrian's expression was as if struck by lightning. Shock, astonishment, absurdity, and a trace of anger that even he hadn't noticed. Not mine? He murmured, as if not believing his ears. Then whose? His voice suddenly rose, carrying an unexpected sharpness even to himself. I looked at him calmly, my heart at peace. Adrian, this is my private matter, it seems unrelated to our employment contract, right? You. He was choked speechless by me, his handsome face flushing to liver color. Linda beside him finally found a chance to interject, screaming gleefully, "Oh my God! I said she's not a good woman. Just divorced and pregnant with someone else's child, utterly shameless. Adrian, quickly see her true face. How is such a woman worthy to cook for you? Unexpectedly, Adrian didn't echo her. He turned sharply, his gaze cold as a knife. Shut up. Linda shuddered in fright, instantly silent. Adrian's full attention returned to me. He had forgotten our past, forgotten our marriage, but his innate possessiveness remained. The thought of me, this woman nominally just divorced from him, carrying another man's child in her belly, ignited a nameless rage burning fiercely in his chest. This had nothing to do with love, only a man's dignity. He began to become obsessive, like a detective, frantically wanting to find out who that adulterer was. He sent people to investigate all my social connections after returning to the village. I enjoyed the leisure, simply putting on a play for him. I found my childhood friend, the young owner of the village chicken farm, Jason. Jason was tall and sturdy, with dark skin, a big white-toothed smile, honest and reliable. I gave him 2,000 yuan, asking him to guest star as my child's father. Jason patted his chest and agreed. Thus, in the farmstay, such scenes often appeared. Jason carrying 2 old hens to see me. Serena, you're pregnant and working hard, I'll stew soup for you. I, with my belly protruding, happily took them. Jason, you're so good. In the nearby pavilion, Adrian's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He saw Jason clumsily trying to massage my shoulders. Serena, are you tired? Let me massage for you. I smiled and dodged. Don't mess around, it's ticklish. Flirting playfully, harmonious and joyful. The blue and white porcelain teacup in Adrian's hand cracked with a snap, crushed by him. Finally, he couldn't bear it. He cornered me under the backyard grape trellis, his gaze sinister. Is it him? I blinked, feigning innocence. Who is he? That chicken farmer. He gnashed his teeth. I smiled, light as a cloud. Adrian, aren't you meddling too much? I'm your chef, not your prisoner. You have no right to interfere in my private life. His chest heaved violently, clearly very angry. This woman, how could she always easily provoke his anger? He stared at me fixedly, as if to see through me. Fine, very good. He turned and left, his back resolute and cold. I knew this wasn't over. As expected, the next day, Adrian's assistant found Jason. A 5 million check was pushed in front of Jason. Leave her, and this money is yours. The assistant was expressionless, in a businesslike tone. Jason, following the script I taught him, righteously pushed the check back. What do you take us for? My relationship with Serena is priceless. Not to mention 5 million, even 50 million, 100 million, don't dream of breaking us apart. The assistant returned rebuffed and reported back. Adrian, upon hearing, angrily smashed an antique vase. He couldn't understand why that bumpkin named Jason could win her favor. Where exactly was he inferior to a chicken farmer? Irritation and confusion entwined him like vines. Recently, he began to dream frequently. In the dreams, there were always blurry fragments. A grand wedding, he couldn't see the bride's face clearly, but could feel the slight tremor of her slender fingers when putting on the ring. A cozy dining room, someone serving him a steaming bowl of soup, the flavor familiar to the point of making him uneasy. A woman's smiling face, bright and warm under the sunlight. Each time he awoke from the dream, his head throbbed painfully. Those fragmented memories made him panic. He vaguely felt he had forgotten something very important. He had his assistant investigate. Go check how exactly I divorced that woman named Serena. The assistant quickly brought the documents. A divorce agreement with his and my handwritten signatures. A bank transfer record, 100 million in alimony clearly deposited into my account. Adrian looked at the agreement, brows furrowed. Contractual marriage? To appease grandfather? Why would he agree to such absurd things? And this 100 million, why give her so much money? Unless, she did something to wrong him and this was hush money? The more he thought, the darker his face became. At that moment, an uninvited guest's arrival provided perfect corroboration for his guesses. "Adrian, I heard you were here, so I came to see you." A woman in a white dress, with gentle temperament and flowing long hair, carrying an exquisite fruit basket, appeared at the farmstay entrance. It was Vivian. Adrian's childhood sweetheart, the only woman in his memory who was gentle and considerate to him. Also the woman who had tried every means to drive me out of the Liu family back then. Seeing Vivian, Adrian's tense nerves relaxed a bit. "Vivian, why are you here?" Vivian's gaze circled over me, a flash of contempt in her eyes, then switched to a worried expression. "Adrian, I heard you found her again, I'm afraid you'll be deceived by her." She walked to Adrian's side, speaking softly, "You've forgotten, your marriage back then was just an expedient measure." But she was never satisfied, always scheming to get more things that didn't belong to her. Now she's even pregnant with someone else's child. At a glance, she's not a settled woman, you must not be blinded by her again. Her words, like a key, unlocked the lock named doubt in Adrian's heart. So that's how it was. She was a greedy, promiscuous woman. That's why he used 100 million to send her away. Everything made sense. His gaze towards me instantly became cold and disgusted. And I just looked at them coldly as they sang in harmony, my heart without ripples. The calm before the storm is always particularly grinding. I waited to see what tricks they could still play. Vivian's arrival made the farmstay's atmosphere tense. She assumed the identity of Adrian's fiancé and began to boss me around. "Adrian has a weak stomach, can't eat spicy, withdraw the spoiled fish. Adrian likes desserts, go make him a mango pomelo sago." I heavily placed the dish on the table with a bang. "Miss Vivian, my employer is Adrian, not you. What dishes I make is not for you to teach." Vivian's face paled, tearfully looking at Adrian. "Adrian, look at her." Adrian frowned, feeling somewhat irritated. Although he believed I was a bad woman, for some reason, Vivian's bossiness also made him unhappy. Especially since my cooking indeed suited his taste better than any top chef. A smokeless war unfolded at the dining table. Finally, on the next evening, Vivian played her trump card. She ate a spoonful of the seafood soup I made, suddenly clutching her neck in pain. "Ah. I can't breathe." She fell to the ground, breathing rapidly, red rashes quickly appearing on her face. "Vivian." Adrian was greatly alarmed and immediately rushed over. Linda screamed, "It's peanuts. Miss Vivian is allergic to peanuts." "Serena, you actually put peanuts in the dish. You want to kill Miss Vivian." In an instant, everyone looked at me with condemning eyes. Adrian picked up Vivian, his backward glance at me like an ice-quenched blade. "Serena, what a vicious heart you have." I stood in place, coldly watching this clumsy performance. "Adrian, before convicting me, why not look at this first?" I took out my phone and opened a video. The video screen was facing the kitchen counter. It was the surveillance I installed a few days ago. In the footage, I portioned the finished seafood soup into 2 bowls. Then, Vivian sneaked into the kitchen slyly, and while I turned away, poured a packet of peanut powder into 1 bowl. And that bowl was the one she later took away. The truth was revealed. The dining room fell into dead silence. Vivian's face instantly drained of color. Adrian's expression shifted from anger to shock, then to incredulous disappointment. He looked at Vivian still moaning in pain in his arms, his eyes full of cold disgust. "Send Miss Vivian to the hospital," he said to the assistant. Then, he walked step by step to me. The atmosphere was so heavy it was almost suffocating. I thought he would question me, or apologize. But he just looked at me deeply, that gaze so complex I couldn't understand it. "You, what kind of woman are you exactly?" he asked lowly, as if asking me, and as if asking himself. From that day on, Adrian's attitude towards me underwent a subtle change. He no longer mocked me sarcastically, even began to clumsily care for me. "The weather is cool, wear more. Walk slowly, don't fall." He also began to indirectly inquire about our past. What kind of person was I before? I replied concisely, workaholic, didn't come home, emotionless contractual couple. The colder I was, the deeper the confusion in his eyes. Until that day, because of a document, he returned to the villa we used to live in. In the deepest part of the bedside table, he discovered a forgotten box. Inside the box was a small, hand-knitted baby wool shoe. That was what I hand-knitted before our divorce, thinking I could share the joy with him. He held that small shoe, his hand slightly trembling. He recalled my protruding abdomen, the time I returned to the village, our divorce date. A terrifying thought he had overlooked emerged in his mind. The timeline matched. Unless this child was conceived before our divorce. Unless this child was his. He rushed out of the villa like mad, driving back to the farmstay. He charged in front of me like a gust of wind, eyes bloodshot, tightly clutching that small wool shoe in his hand. His voice trembled with excitement. "Serena, tell me. This child, is it mine?" Looking at his reddened eyes and the familiar wool shoe in his hand, I knew I couldn't hide it anymore. "Fine then. This cat-and-mouse game, I'm tired too." I calmly met his gaze and nodded. Yes. One word, like a bomb, exploded thunderously in Adrian's mind. He staggered back a step, his face drained of color, full of regret and pain. Why didn't you tell me?" I smiled, but the smile was ice-cold and piercing. "Tell you? Adrian, have you forgotten? It was you who gave me 100 million to make me leave. It was you who pointed at my belly, saying this excess fat affects appetite. It was you who forgot me, forgot everything about us. Now, on what basis do you question me?" Each of my words was like a sharp blade, stabbing harshly into his heart. He opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word. Yes. What qualification did he have? From this day on, Adrian's wife-chasing crematorium officially began. He disbanded the survey team, cancelled all work, and like sticky candy, clung to my farmstay every day. The next day, luxury cars drove into our remote mountain village. Hermes bags piled into a small mountain. Top-grade bird's nest and fish maw filled my storage room. The latest strollers, cribs, various maternity and infant products I'd never seen, almost filling my courtyard. I expressionlessly had the workers move everything to the courtyard corner. "Adrian, keep your money to buy some walnuts to nourish your brain. My child and I don't care for it." Gifting didn't work, so he started the family affection route. He clumsily tried to help with chores. Letting him feed chickens, he was chased around the yard by the rooster. Letting him pick vegetables, he pulled all my chives as weeds. Letting him cook, he almost set my kitchen on fire. Looking at his disheveled appearance, I only found it amusing. If he knew today, why bother back then? Best friend Yara shook her head watching. "Serena, I think he's serious this time, why not, give him a chance?" I touched my belly and shook my head. "Yara, a broken mirror is hard to mend. Everything he's doing now is just out of guilt for the child and compensation for his amnesia. This isn't love." Adrian seemed to realize that material things and clumsy flattery couldn't move me. He began to change strategy. He no longer sent those flashy but impractical things, but instead accompanied me steadfastly every day. When I strolled, he followed not far away, maintaining a distance neither too far nor too near. When I ate, he sat opposite, quietly watching me, serving me food. When I had morning sickness and felt uncomfortable, he would immediately hand over warm water and a towel, his eyes full of heartache and helplessness. He was no longer that lofty domineering CEO, more like a big boy who had done wrong and didn't know what to do. For a moment, my heart did waver. But reason quickly pulled me back. The hurt had already been done, it couldn't be erased with a few words of concern. Towards him, I remained neither cold nor hot, bland. I thought, with his pride, he would soon lose patience. But I underestimated him. Days passed in this eerie calm. My belly grew larger, movement increasingly inconvenient. That afternoon, while sunbathing in the courtyard, a sharp pain suddenly came from my lower abdomen. I groaned, my face instantly turning pale. Serena. Adrian, who had been guarding nearby, rushed over immediately. Seeing my pained appearance, he panicked, his usually steady face filled with fear. "What's wrong? Don't be afraid, I'll take you to the hospital right away." He carefully lifted me horizontally, his movements gentle as if handling a rare treasure. His arms were steady, his chest broad, the familiar cologne scent lingering at my nose tip. My consciousness was somewhat blurred due to the pain. On the way to the hospital, he held my hand tightly throughout. His palm was full of sweat. "Serena, hold on, we'll be there soon. The child will be fine, you will be fine." He repeated over and over in my ear, his voice slightly trembling with tension. At the hospital, I was urgently sent to the emergency room. After examination, the doctor said it was false contractions caused by recent emotional fluctuations and some fatigue. Rest well and it would be fine. I sighed in relief, lying on the hospital bed, looking out the window. Adrian stayed by the bedside, not leaving an inch. He peeled an apple, feeding me small pieces. I turned my head away. "I don't want to eat." He wasn't annoyed, set down the apple, and brought warm water. "Then drink some water." I closed my eyes, not wanting to respond. The ward was silent. After a long time, I heard him speak lowly in a nearly broken voice. "Serena. I've remembered everything." I abruptly opened my eyes and looked at him. His eyes were filled with red bloodshots, containing pain, regret, and deep affection too thick to dissolve. "On the way sending you to the hospital, I was terrified. I feared losing you, losing our child." That fear was like a key, crashing open the locked door in my mind. I've remembered everything. Recalled our contractual marriage, my initial indifference to you. Also recalled when I started to fall for you. He smiled self-mockingly. "I remember, every time I came home late from overtime, no matter how late, you would leave a light on for me, a bowl of soup. I remember when my stomach illness flared, you cared for me all night without sleep. I remember on my birthday, you handmade a very ugly cake for me. I complained verbally, but was happy inside. And..." His voice choked. I remembered that night, the child wasn't an accident, nor fulfilling the contract. It was me, unable to control myself. "Serena, I fell in love with you long ago. But I was too proud, too conceited, not daring to admit, unwilling to admit. I thought, as long as I didn't say it, that emotion didn't exist. Until before the car accident, I was still thinking, once that project ends, I'll tear up the agreement and tell you I want to be real husband and wife with you for life. But I messed everything up." His tears, drop by drop, fell on the back of my hand. Scalding hot. I quietly listened to his confession, my heart filled with mixed feelings. So, he wasn't unloving. Just loved too late, and forgot too quickly. If he hadn't lost his memory, what would we be now? But life has no ifs. "Adrian," I withdrew my hand he was holding, my voice calm and waveless. "Even if you've remembered, what then? The hurt you caused me when you forgot me is real. You've recovered your memory, can those hurts be written off?" "Sorry, I can't do that." My indifference, like a basin of ice water, extinguished the hope just ignited in his eyes. He closed his eyes in pain, and when he opened them, there was a touch of resolution in his gaze. "I know. I don't ask for your forgiveness now. But I'll use all the time in the second half of my life to make up for my mistakes." After discharge, I returned to the farmstay. Adrian followed back too. But he no longer hovered around me like before. He began to prove his change in his own way. 3 days later, the video of Vivian deliberately framing me and faking allergy, along with evidence of her previously bribing paparazzi to smear me, was posted online by an anonymous account. The bi-family stock plummeted, reputation ruined, Vivian became a rat crossing the street that everyone shouted to beat. Then, the several servants who had helped Vivian bully me in the Liu family were all fired. Adrian's mother, the noble woman who once used a check to make me leave her son, personally called to apologize, and I hung up directly. He decisively dealt with all who had hurt me before. After doing all this, he stood before me again with two documents. One was an equity transfer agreement. He transferred 50% of his shares in Xingyuan Group entirely to our unborn baby. The other was an employment contract. But this time, Party A was my name, Serena. Party B was his name, Adrian. The contract stated, from now on, Adrian voluntarily becomes Serena's lifelong employee, responsible for her and her children's daily living, security travel, and all matters, no salary, no rest, lifetime. Looking at that domineering yet childish contract, I was somewhat between laughter and tears. What are you doing? He looked at me, his gaze sincere and fervent. In the first half of my life, I worked for my career and wealth. In the second half, he paused, word by word, extremely clearly, I want to work for my family. Serena, I want to work for you. Sunlight through the window sprinkled on him, plating him with a golden halo. He stood there, like a prisoner awaiting judgment, tense yet full of anticipation. I lowered my head, gently stroking my belly. The little one inside seemed to sense something and lightly kicked me. I raised my head, meeting his expectant gaze, my mouth corners finally unable to resist, curving up into a small arc. What the future will be, I don't know. But perhaps, I can give him, and myself, a new chance.